Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dech Teck, a show where I talk about one of my decks, kind of go through it, break it down chunk by chunk, and just talk about some of the ideas I had with it. Today's a pretty special one. It's a draft deck I did for a challenge video for my friend Chaotic Commander, where we each buy a box, a cheap booster box, and open it up and try to draft a commander deck from it. I'll put the link to the actual opening in the description, and there will be a link whenever it gets uploaded of the actual game. You can check him out on Twitch, Chaotic Commander. He has the VOD over there if you want to check it out. But for now, we'll talk about Mr. Orfeo. You gonna focus for me, buddy? There, that's a little better. It's always like, I have so much crazy stuff in the background. I think it's always trying to focus in on that. My spouse got me a little stamp kit. So, in the process of taking this deck apart, I wanted to stamp it, put it in my collection just for a keepsake. And I stamped it so I never lose this card. It's not worth really anything, but it is to me. So, make it a little special so it won't get shuffled away anywhere. But Mr. Orfeo is a main muscle of the Riveteers, which I also pulled a little token for that. He's a 2/4 for 1 black, red, green, and whenever I attack, double target creature's power until end of turn. I think he was the first commander, or the first legendary I pulled in that box. It was a strong contender, and I kept pulling good stuff in those colors where it ended up being that. I think the other option was Xander, the Grixis dude. And I don't have a Jund deck, so maybe someday I'll come back to it. But the Grixis cards I pulled weren't that great, but it did alright. I won. I don't want to spoil the end in there, but I did. We'll just go through. We'll just get this cut right to the chase. So, cards I pulled. This set has Synergy. Of course, I picked New Capenna. I guess I didn't mention that yet. My box is New Capenna. And then Synergy was a lot of weird attackers, treasures, and a little bit of removal. And I did okay. When I hit the cards, I'll talk about them when we get there. But here's the creatures. Got Civic Gardener. When it attacks, untap target creature or land. That was so I didn't see a lot of these in the game, and I haven't played this deck a lot. I don't think I'm going to keep it all together. I'm going to keep it for now. There's one card, another card I stamped I'm going to take out of it because it was a really helpful card in this deck that I want to put in a different deck. We'll figure it out from there. But we got Exhibition Magician. There's battlefield, choose one. Make a token, either a white and green citizen or a treasure. So I was mostly aiming for the treasures on this. We have Jewel Thief, Vigilance Trample, and there's create a treasure token. We've got Jaxus the Troublemaker. Another card I've been really wanting to put into a deck regular. Just really haven't found the right one to put it in yet. They have a good ability where red and a tap. Discard a card. Create a token as a copy of another target creature you control with haste. And when it dies, draw a card. Then you have to sacrifice at the end of the end step. And I hate those words. Activate only as a sorcery. It always makes me mad. But also as a blitz ability. You can kind of sneak her in and reanimate stuff or copy stuff or whatever you want to call that ability. Not reanimate, it doesn't come to the graveyard, but we got Jetmir's Fixer. Actually saw a lot of play with this card in the game as well. Has ability for a red and a green. Gets +++ until the turn. But if you use mana from a treasure, it gets a counter. And got pretty big during the game, not to spoil everything. Table is squeaky, I don't know if it picks up. Plasma Jockey. Attacks target creature, opponent controls can't block this turn. A little bit of evasion. Glittermonger. Again, saw that in the game. Got a decent amount of use out of this guy. Just making treasure tokens. Pugnacious Pugilist. His name was so complicated, I kind of choked on my words. Let you guys read what he does. A couple of the cards in here, I just kind of threw in, like, looking at them now, I'm like, yeah, this wouldn't make the final deck if I start upgrading it at all. Got a High Rise Sawjack. Box creature flying gets +2/+0. Actually, you know what? Go back to the Pugilist. He's a 4/4 blitz. Could have got him in there. Becomes an 8/4. That's not too bad. Security Rocks. Shame I didn't get to see this guy as a 5/4. I could pay a red and a green for treasures just to cast him pretty early in the game, but unfortunately I didn't see him either. Professional Facebreaker got a little bit of play. We missed a trigger where it kind of came back. Again, you guys can see the video. Social Climber has an art I've been a fan of for a minute, and I never really read the ability where it helps you gain life when other creatures enter the battlefield, under your control at least. But this needs to go in my Soul Sisters decks because not only is art cool, it's a pretty good ability. Riveteer's Requisitioner. Dies, gets a treasure token. 3/1 with the Blitz ability. Not too bad either. Venom Connoisseur, giving stuff Death Touch. It's a table squeak. I'm going to fix it after this video. Apologize for the interruptions. Attendant Socialite gets +1/+1. Scuttling Butler. This one should have been reprinted with the Murders at Karlov Mansion as the Tim Curry Butler. But this might end up being an alter at some point. This is a really neat card. Control 2 more multicolored permanents against double strike till on a turn. So with Mr. Orfeo, and this would have been a great combo. Double it, be a 4/1, and then it gets double strike, so that's, what, 16 just in one swing? Of course, he's a little teeny tiny butt. Riveteer's Decoy, always a fan of combat tricks, where I could have had him attacking too, and everyone has to block him. Got through and everything else. Zeotaurus Envoy. Right off the bat, just being the right colors. A wall of text, I'm like, I gotta keep this in the deck, but actually does a pretty neat thing. It's a 5/4, which, again, doubling and having trample is also useful. When it deals combat damage to a player, look at the top card of your library. You may play a land from the top of your library or cast a spell with mana value less than or equal to the damage dealt from the top of your library without paying its mana cost. If you don't, you just put it in your hand. It's a pretty good ability. It's a shame this isn't legendary. I would have loved to build this deck. It seems like a fun ability. Blitz cost, all this stuff happening. So maybe if I end up keeping the bulk of this or the idea of this deck, I'm getting into that. Nightclubber, actually did get the seat in the game. Did a pretty decent amount of work. I like the Blitz ability for the -1/-1 till end turn. Kind of bounce it. Here's the other one, did a lot of work. Again, I suppose if you haven't seen the actual game yet, got a little stamp on it already because I feel like buying a foil. I want to get some more interesting alternate arts and stuff for my decks, and having that little stamper I got for Christmas for my spouse, like I said, I've been stamping some special cards for me. Because he did a lot of work, gets a little stamp. And that's going to go into a different deck eventually. Yeah, Woody Roastmaster. He has a 3/2. Just a lot of creatures that can double up and do some nasty stuff. I held on to this card for a while. It's a 6/6 for 6. With enter the battlefield abilities. Just trying to, had just enough mana to cast it for a bit. But it didn't want to cast because it'll use up the mana for everything else. But seems like a decent card, right? Then we got Revel Ruiner with Menache. Conniving stuff. Got a 6/3 Rocks Pummeler. Enters battlefield, shield counter, has tramples as a shield counter on it. But again, beat him will double this guy would have been cool. I got a couple of Jun cards that I just had to put in the deck. They're pretty good on their own, right? Crew Captain, again, really cool looking art. Has indestructible as long as it's just entered the battlefield. Being able to swing with being able to swing with an 8/2 with the doubling ability with indestructible. At least get some damage through if they don't feel like blocking. Masked Bandits. Excited to pull this version of the card. I think I had a normal one for a while until I found this one. This has a pretty neat ability. You guys read it there. 2 in exile from your hand. You can give a land an extra mana ability. And then you can still cast it later. Right? The adventure before there was adventure, right? Tenacious Underdog is a card I like. It's a really interesting card. I always try to make it work and fit into decks, and I always end up cutting for something different. I don't want to say something better, but something different that fits better. And I always want to make this card work. It's a really good card. Wrecking Crew, a 4/5 reach trample. Again, a good target for doubling. Goldhound, little doggy. You can sacrifice to add mana. Shadow Mortality, one of those cards that I kind of put in here just because I like it. But it does have a pretty decent ability to be a 7/7 at a certain point in the game. Got Workshop War Chief. Has a little soup of abilities there. It gets tokens, and there's a Battlefield Gaining Life. It's kind of like a Thrag Tusk, but no one cared about it. And good blitz ability, if not expensive, but what do you know? So I cheated a little bit. This was the promo that came in the box, so the rules were anything you get in the box, right? So it was in there. It's another card that I kind of want to put into a lot of Soul Sisters decks. It's just a neat card, decent abilities. Don't have to explain myself much more than that, right? We got Girder Goons. It's a 4/4 blitz. Make some tokens when it dies. This is probably the only card I really didn't feel like putting in the deck, but it's in there. It's in the colors. It's a 2/2 for 2. Always a sucker for that in draft formats, but the Death Touch ability you have to pay for. Not as much. I didn't care for too much for that. Then had a couple flyers in here, but this is the only one I remember seeing. This has a decent enough ability to pay 3 colors in a 3-color deck, which is nice. Gets a +1/+1 counter. You always want to put flyers in your draft decks. So you never know if anybody else can have flyers. You need blockers up. If they don't have flyers, then you can attack them. We got Body Launderer, another card that I like. I try to make it work. It has an interesting ability, I guess I should say, where it doesn't really do anything in the decks that I would put it in. Right? The art's pretty cool too. I like that art. Sizzling Soloist. Another creature enters the battlefield in your control. Target opponent, creature your opponent controls can't block this turn. So a little combat interaction there. And then, if it's the second time an ability is resolved, that creature attacks during its next combat, if able. Well, I don't really read the second part of that, but it's a shame it's not goading. Goading would be even better. And the last creature we're going to talk about is a 4/4 Freelance Muscle. When it attacks or bucks, it has +X to on turn where X is the greatest power and or toughness among other creature control. So an 8/8, it could possibly be at minimum a 16/16. That's pretty good. We move on to the artifacts. I should have separated by equipment and stuff because there's a few equipments in here. This little thing gives a treasure token and then gives my creature flying. It's pretty good. Just a generic pump with jackhammer. Unlicensed Hearst. Another card I really like that I try to put into things and it just never works out. I like this card a lot. It's a decent ability. Removal stuff from graveyard, even if you're not ever going to attack with it. Being able to remove stuff from graveyard is always a good ability to have. And see how it's instant ability? Oh, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to do it as a sorcery. Isn't that nice? You have the freedom to do it at any time. And this is a card I was really hoping to pull, and I did. I pulled a couple copies, in fact. But a 6/6, so you can pay a treasure to have it become an artifact creature till in a turn. Make it a 12/6 rather. This is a really good ability for the deck theme. If Mr. Orfeo survives, this is definitely going to be a card that's going to go in there. Quick Draw Dagger. We've got lint everywhere. There's battlefield attached to our creature control, and they gain first direct on the turn. Basically just for the extra little tiny pump. That's why it's in there. Glittering Stockpile. One of my favorite cards in this set. I think every deck I have that has red in it now has this card. I really enjoy this card. It's a mana rock that you can slowly build up energy counters on it, or stash counters it's called, but like you can build up the mana to later be still. There's no downside. You have to sacrifice at the end, but you're at least getting mana each turn. And last but not least, we have Brass Knuckles. You can copy it, and it gets double strike. Not much more to say about that. Move on to everyone's favorite instance. Of course, we had to have Murder. Good removal. Big score. Discard a card as an additional cost. Draw 2 cards, create 2 treasures. Daring Escape. Little pump spell. Beautiful art, by the way. But nice little pump spell and a little scry ability. Unleash the Inferno. I'll be honest, I didn't read too much into the text. I just saw the colors, like the art. But deals 7 damage to our creature or planeswalker. Excessive damage is dealt this way. Destroy target artifact or enchantment and player controls, meaning less than equal to the amount of excess damage. Again, just kind of put it in here because it looked cool. This is definitely when I got cut. The challenge was fun, but there's a lot of cards in here where I'm like, I'm ashamed to have put it in the deck rather than something else, but I didn't have that many options being such a restricted format, which I love that. But at the same time, I probably could have built this a little better. But what am I saying? I won. So I did pretty good. It's not so much how you build the deck, it's how you play it. I'm getting better at that. But prize fight. Fighting creature you don't control. Treasure token. Antagonize. Again, pumping up my stuff. I always like that kind of little kid looks like Hellboy Jr. when he's young. Riveteer's Charm. I had an early game in the actual game. I think I ended up having to discard it, which is a shame, but just a neat card. Perfect for these colors. Does a couple things. I'll let you guys read it. I'm not going to read everything, but I really like this card. Fake Your Own Death is a card I'm going to end up putting in one of my other decks. I've been looking for a lot of these recursion stuff for my big creatures this week. They're for Shieldred. Shieldred needs more ways to keep her from ending up in the graveyard. Calling a Professional. Players can't gain life. Damage can't be prevented. And then it deals 3 damage to any target. For the family, pumping up my stuff. And Luxurious Libations. Again, pumping up stuff and making tokens. Nothing too complicated there. We got our sorceries next. We got Structural Assault. Destroy all artifacts, then deals damage to each creature equal to the number of artifacts that are put in the graveyards from the battle this turn. Incriminate. Get a little bit of removal, except you don't really get to target it. Corpse Explosions. The big reason I put Shadow of Doubt? What the hell is that? The 7/7 I was talking about earlier? Shadow Mortality. Just be able to do 7 damage to a creature would have been cool. Living a dream. Ready to Rumble. Pretty sure I got the cast because the whole time I wanted to say that really loud. Go, let's get ready to rumble. And I think it was one of the final plays of the game. I know, I'm spoiling a lot of it, but you guys should still watch it. Illicit Shipment. Get to search my library. Another, not winning play, but another really fun play in the game was me getting to borrow somebody's enormous commander creature and then swinging at somebody else with it. That was a lot of fun. It's really good for 4 mana, and then you get a treasure token, so it ends up being 3 mana, but you just get 1 floating. And Graveyard Shift is a little bit of the recursion I had in this deck. I really like that art. And last but not least, we have our lands. I was so happy to actually pull the land we needed colors in. So Yatora's Proving Ground. We also got the alternate art for the ones I could use. The green, white, red, and black Tramway Station Racer's Ring. And I put all these in here because you can to search out the basics that they could actually call out for that work for this deck. So Mountain Forest for this one, Swamp Mountain Forest for this one, and then Swamp Mountain for this one. And of course, the basics. I had a pile of basics just down where I was building the deck, so I have a little mix of all different types of basics from different sets, but mostly Lord of the Rings I found, because those are the ones I'm probably not going to get rid of. I like the way the little triangle at the bottom of the art. I wouldn't get rid of these. And that's about it. So what do you think? Check out my video when I'm pulling the cards. It was a fun little live stream I did. I do have it saved on my channel somewhere. And then, like I said, I'm going to put the video link for the actual game, which is a ton of fun. I really can't wait to do something like this again. I hope he does it again. John, if you're watching, I'll be back. And, yeah, I don't know what else to say for that. So until next time, love you.